Always wanted to play Fantasy Premier League, or have you been out the game for a while and need a reminder? Well, here's a video on how to play FPL.
Yo, listen up, Rue is stepping up the game. Where Fantasy Premier League runs in his veins. From transfers to captains, he's always on top. Guiding you through every game week non-stop. They say Rue got that Salah flow. Welcome to the channel, enjoy the show. Wild cards, free hits with so much vibe. If you're hunting for success, then make sure you subscribe.
Good day, mate. Welcome back to the channel. My name's FPL Root, and welcome back to another FPL video. So, as I've mentioned in today's video, we're going to be looking at kind of the rules and how to play FPL, a few strategies, trip strategies, and what's the best way to maximize your points and your team, and hopefully win your mini leagues and climb the ranks and have a good finish. And at the end of the day, have some fun too. We'll start off with selecting your squad. So probably the most important aspect of FPL is picking your team. Otherwise, you're not going to score many points if you don't have any players. So basically, to join the game, you have to pick 15 players consisting of 2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, 5 midfielders, and 3 forwards. You get a budget of 100 million, and you can only select 3 players from each team. So say if you wanted Heung-min Son, Harry Kane, Pedro Porro, you wouldn't be able to get Maddison because you've already got 3 from Spurs. But yeah, that's the basic rules of how to play. We'll get on to some of the other rules now. So from these 15 players, you can only select 11 players to start. And you do that all before the game week deadline. So it's 1.5 hours before the first kickoff of the game week. So say if we're talking about UK time now, it's a 12:30 kickoff on a Saturday. You'd have to submit your team at 11 a.m. on that morning. Obviously, depending on when the first fixture is. If one or more of your players doesn't play, then a substitute will come on for your team. So if your goalkeeper doesn't play, a goalkeeper will come on. If your defender doesn't play, then a defender will come on. But you can play any formation in FPL, but you have to have 1 goalkeeper, 3 defenders, and 1 forward selected at all times. So, for example, if you've started with a formation of 3-4-3 and one of your defenders doesn't play, and on your bench you've got a midfielder first, your midfielder wouldn't come on, as you need a minimum 3 defenders on the pitch at the same time at once. So that kind of means 9 times out of 10 you're going to have a defender coming on for a defender, or kind of a midfielder for a midfielder, but not all the time. So definitely pay attention to how you order your bench and put the player you think is going to score the most points on your bench first. There's also a thing called a captain. So your captain doubles the score. So whoever you put the captain's armband on, his score will be doubled. But you can only pick a player in your starting 11. If that player plays 0 minutes, that is a big fact. He could come on for 1 minute, and that means his score will be doubled for 1 minute. But if he plays 0 minutes, the captain will change to the vice captain. So it's very important that you pick a vice captain that you're comfortable with and comfortable that you think will score points if your captain doesn't play. Sometimes, or what I like to do is not choose a player from the same team or the same game, especially with obviously COVID and a lot of disruptions to the sporting world. Games would be cancelled, and hopefully that doesn't happen this season, but you never know. Last season we didn't think it was going to happen, and the Queen died, so and obviously games were cancelled. So definitely pick a player, I would suggest, that is not in the same game as your captain. So just a quick one before we move on to the rest of the video. Definitely join my mini league if you are playing FPL this year. So the link is in the description, or you can put in the code NXZMUM. So NXZ and then mum. Nice and easy. Let's get on to the rest of the video. So in FPL, after you select your squad, you can buy and sell players in the transfer market. So, but up until the first game week, so the start of the season, you can make unlimited transfers at no cost. After the first deadline, you get 1 transfer every game week. Each additional transfer you make in that same game week, you'll have 4 points deducted from your overall score. So bear that in mind. If you're looking to make more than 1 transfer in a game week, is that player worth taking 4-point hit for? That's something you've got to decide. Sometimes it's worth it if you're looking to have that player that's going to be in your team for a long period where they can make up that 4 points no problem. But sometimes it could not be worth it. So definitely keep that in mind. If you don't use your free transfer in the game week, then you'll have an additional free transfer in the next game week. So that means you'll have 2 free transfers. But that's all you can save. So you can't have more than 2 transfers in the bank. So if you do have 2 transfers, you're better off using one, as the next week you'll still have 2 transfers as you gain one. So that's definitely something to keep in mind. Also, player prices, so they change throughout the season, and it's all dependent on how many people buy that player, basically the popularity of a player. The price shown on your transfer page is the player's selling price in terms of your team, but this can be less than the player's current price, as there is a sell-on fee for selling your players. So let's say you bought Jack Grealish at 8 million, and then 4 or 5 game weeks down the line, he went up to 8.4 million, but you could only sell him for 8.2 million because there is that sell-on fee. So chips are a big part of Fantasy Premier League. They can be used to kind of enhance your team's performance, but only 1 chip can be played in a game week. Some of the main chips available are bench boost. So this basically allows the players on your bench to score points. This is great, a great chip. Can only be used once a season though. Free hit, so you can make unlimited transfers in a single game week, but after the deadline, so after that game week, your old team will return. So this is a good chip to use to say if your team's not looking good for that specific game week. Triple captain, which is one of the most, I say, popular chips, maybe not the best, but the most popular. So basically your captain's points are tripled instead of doubled for the next game week. Really important to choose a good vice captain in that one for sure. And then there's also the wildcard chip, which you get 2 per season. So the first one you have to use before the 31st of December, and the second one you have to use after the 31st of December. So basically in using that chip, you all your transfers are completely free. You're allowed to change your whole team, and yeah, kind of for the rest of the season almost. But make sure you remember you have to use your first one before the 31st of December. So staying on the theme of chips, a lot of the time using your chips is ideal in blank or double game weeks. So these game weeks, blank or double game weeks, typically happen when a team or teams have cup games, so they miss league games. An example of this is if a team goes far in the FA Cup, and there's a time in the season where it's not kind of a free game week for teams playing FA Cup, they'll still put league games on, and everyone that's in the FA Cup at that point will miss their league game. This also happens for like the Club World Cup, which Man City are going to be in this season as they won the Champions League. So they'll miss a game week early on in the season because they're in that. So that means they'll have a double game week because that fixture has to be rearranged and put in another game week. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, live a comment below and I'll try and explain a bit further. So because of the doubles and blank game weeks, that means sometimes a team won't be playing and other times they'll be playing twice. So obviously you're going to want to target teams that will be playing twice. So the best chip strategy, in my opinion, for utilizing these blank and double game weeks is the first wild card. You kind of use this when your team is in bad shape. You have a bit more information, what teams are looking good this season, what players are looking good, and then you make that move and have that wild card played nice and early to kind of get the maximization of the players that are in form this season. The second wildcard is best to be used before a double game week. This is so you can prepare for that double game week to get as many double game week players as possible. Say if your team is full of Fulham, Everton, Man City players, but they only have a single game week coming up, whereas Spurs, Arsenal, Chelsea, Bournemouth have a double game week. So you'll try and get teams from them double game weeks into your wildcard team. Bench boost again is best used in a double game week. That means if you do use your bench boost and you have 15 players in your squad that that have a double game week, that means you've ended up having 30 fixtures because you've got 15 players. They have 2 fixtures, so that means you've got 30 games to score points, and it's a much better way of using your bench boost chip as in your original squad. You only had 15 games if they only had 1 game week, if that makes sense, 1 game in a game week. Triple captain is again best used in a double game week. Kind of simple with this one. So a player has 2 fixtures, and instead of 1 more chance, they're going to score more points. Yeah, so definitely save your triple captain for a double game week. And don't forget though, we'll go on to the scoring later on, but it will kind of explain why it's better to use these chips in doubles, because they have kind of more chance of scoring and obviously assisting and keeping clean sheets, but they also have more chance of bonus points and clean sheet points, but we'll cover that in the next part of the video. Free hit is best to be used in a blank or double game week. So in a blank game week, you're going to get in players that are not going to be blanking. For example, say if Man City, Arsenal, Spurs, Chelsea, Man United are blanking in a game week, you're going to want to bring in players that are not in them teams. So Everton, Fulham, Liverpool, etc. And that way you can return to kind of your good players the next week as they'll have fixtures again. But you could use it in a double game week, so you could load up on double game week players. Kind of, it's a much higher upside. Whereas if you're using it in a blank game week, you're kind of trying to save the game week almost, because you might not have many players playing in that game week. For me, it just depends how the season kind of unfolds. So definitely subscribe to the channel and put the notification bell on, because as the season unfolds, I'll come up with a better strategy that will suit the way the season is going. But we'll get on to the next slide for now. So during the season, your fantasy players can score points based on kind of their performance and how they do in the game. And this is just a list of how they can get them points. So for playing 60 minutes, at least 60 minutes, they get 1 point. Up to 60 minutes, they get 1 point. For playing 60 minutes or more, excluding stoppage time, they get 2 points. For each goal scored by a goalkeeper or a defender, I feel like it should be more for a goalkeeper, but anyway, they get 6 points. For each goal scored by a midfielder, they get 5 points. For each goal scored by a forward, 4 points. For an assist, 3 points. Clean sheet by a goalkeeper or a defender, 4 points. Clean sheet by a midfielder, 1 point. For every 3 shots saved by a goalkeeper, they get 1 point. So this is why maybe you're going to be looking at getting players, getting goalkeepers that play for the lesser teams, and they're going to face more shots than say like Edison, who doesn't really face that many shots. For a penalty save, you get 5 points. For a penalty miss, you get -2 points. Bonus points for players in a match, we'll explain that later on in the video a little bit. You get between 1 and 3 points. For every 2 goals conceded by a goalkeeper or defender, it's a -1 point. So say if a team loses 2-0, they'll get -1 on their score. If they lose 4-0, they get -2, and so on. For each yellow card, -1. For a red card, -3. And for an own goal, -2. Just to kind of reiterate what you need to kind of get these points. So a clean sheet is awarded for not conceding a goal, obviously, but the player has to have played at least 60 minutes, excluding stoppage time. If a player is substituted when a goal is conceded, that will not affect any kind of clean sheet bonus. So say if, let's say Tyreek Mitchell for Crystal Palace, he gets substituted at 61 minutes and it's a 0-0 game, and then Palace concede on 62 minutes, he will keep the clean sheet, which is great. Sometimes it's good to utilize players that come off after 60, 65 minutes. Red cards, so again, if they receive a red card and a team concedes more goals, they'll still be penalized. So something to take in mind. You don't gain anything from players receiving red cards, as you're still going to get goals conceded. And assists, so fantasy assists are a little bit different than kind of the normal football assists. So it's awarded to the player from the scoring team who last touches the ball before their teammate scores. The final touch can be an intentional pass or an inadvertent pass, or kind of a result of a shot being saved or going off the post or something like that. So it doesn't have to be a straight pass. But if the ball is deflected after the final pass is scored significantly and it kind of changes the way the ball's going, the destination of the ball, then they won't be getting an assist. Rebound, so blocked by an opposition player or saved by a goalkeeper or hits the woodwork, as I mentioned, and the rebound scored, then they're still getting an assist, the player that had that shot. You obviously can't get a goal and an assist at the same time. So if it was a penalty and then they hit the post and then scored a rebound, they'll just get the goal and obviously the penalty miss. Own goals. So for players, again, I don't need to go into own goals, just a normal own goal. Penalties and free kicks. So if a player is fouled or is kind of the nearest player to the penalty being earned or free kick being earned, then they will get the assist. So if you think of Jack Grealish, who gets fouled quite a lot, and then that free kick is scored, then Jack Grealish will get their assist. So trying to find players like that is a good idea. There's also a bonus point system, which I mentioned. It kind of utilizes stats to create this bonus points system, and every player kind of scores a bonus point score. But the 3 best performing players in each match will be awarded bonus points. 3 points are obviously the best player, highest scoring player, second the best, 2 the best, and then 1 the third. But if there's a tie between kind of first and second, they'll both receive 3 points. And then player 3 will receive 1 point, and then so on for the other positions too. I won't go into how bonus points are scored because there's a lot of ways, but to get the gist of it, scoring a goal, playing 60 minutes, saving a penalty, passes, pass completion, missing big chances is minus, making an error leading to a goal is minus. So there's loads of aspects. So definitely check out the FPL website for that. But you probably don't need to know that much about how bonus points are scored, to be honest with you. Just another reminder to join my fantasy league. So the link is in the description, or put in this code to join the league on the FPL website. That has been it for this video. Leave a comment below if you have liked it, smash a like as well, and subscribe to the channel for more FPL tips, more chip strategies, some tier lists, special guests, and much more throughout the rest of the season.